everybody. Welcome to Laughter Talks. This is Marguerite Fair, and I am so delighted and happy to introduce you to our guest. As you can see right off the bat, forget about her. Look at her beautiful boy. Let me introduce you first. This is E. King. Evie is a painter, performer, writer, and naturalist, and she'll do anything that won't pay the bills, especially if it involves animals. And I wanted to introduce her first because in that first line, we see that's a true statement. And that's Max. Is that Max?
That is
Yeah,
me.
beautiful Max. And Ray Bradbury called her stories marvelously inventive, wildly funny, and deeply thought-provoking. What a compliment. He's like a genius. I cannot, he said he cannot recommend your work highly enough, which is amazing. Now, Evie has won numerous awards and fellowships for art, writing, and environmental research. And she's been published widely, most recently at Clarkesworld and on Spec. She's on Tangent. She's on Tangent, Science Fiction's Best Shorts of 2019 and 2020 list. Now, also, I just welcome, Evie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, and first, I want to ask you right off the bat, where are you from and how's the weather?
Well, I'm from Hollywood, California, but I spend I mostly, or at least half the year in Utah these days, and
Okay.
half the year traveling. But right now, I'm in Dana Point, California, so the weather is gorgeous.
Oh, it's beautiful there. I'm in Burbank and we've got a
Uh,
beautiful day today. So your Dana Point is lovely. I've been there, so you're in a very nice spot. Now, I just want to get right into this because you do so many different things. And I know today you'd like to discuss, you don't have just one book or two books you want to talk about, but you have three books. You are a very prolific writer. I've been checking out your website. It's like, oh, you make me feel like I'm lazy. You're amazing. So these three books. Now, first we have The Blood Prism. That
mhm.
is a Gothic fantasy, and Electric Detective. I love these titles. Humphrey Bogart meets the man in the high castle. Is that right? These descriptions say it all. And this really delights me. Um, Afterlife. A book of now. This is a book to the guide to the afterlife. Is that what this is?
Yeah,
And
Bert
this
Quigley's Guide to the Afterlife. All you need to know to choose the right heaven.
I just have to say, what I would like you to do is, first of all, tell us a little bit about these books. And I have to say, I'm very interested in that afterlife story. So tell
Okay.
us about your stories.
Well, thanks. Well, actually, I'll start with Dirk Quigley's Guide to the Afterlife because, it started me writing really. I wrote a short
Wow.
story. I had an idea. What if a guy was like, there must be, we all feel it. There must be more to life than life. It's what all spirituality, religion. So this guy's a copywriter. He too thinks there must be more to life than life. So he enrolls in a class on religion and the afterlife, and it's taught by Lucifer. And Lucifer is like, hell, nobody's even trying. They just get to heaven. They come straight to me with global warming and overcrowded Tokyo on a hot day and hell. What am I supposed to do? So
Wow.
here's the deal. You can keep your soul. I don't want it. I have too many, but write me, try and like entice people to go to heaven. So you can go back and forth to all these different religious
Wow.
afterlives if you write me a Zagat guide, like what are the ratings to get in? What's the food like? What's the drink like? What's the music like? The
Oh my
Baptist,
God.
like
I
everybody knows.
love that concept. That sounds fantastic. Now tell us about the other ones, the other two.
Okay, well, that was a short story, and it came out in St. Martin's Press, and then I expanded into a book.
I was gonna
And
say that's really a
so
huge project. That's
that's
yeah,
yeah. I learned a lot more about religions.
yeah.
And then Blood Prism. Well, I've written lots of short stories, which is mostly what I like to focus on. But Blood Prism is really, in some ways, one of my favorite books. It's not funny. though there's certainly some humor in all my stuff. But it takes place in San Francisco mostly during the AIDS crisis, but it deals with vampires
Wow.
and werewolves and shapeshifters and the fates, the Greek fates, and a lot of mythological creatures and
Yeah.
beings and timelines are all woven in together to
Wow.
create this sort of different world. And anybody who's read it, I've gotten really good reviews, but I'm always, I want more
That's
readers.
but that's also now a full novel, correct? Or
Yes, it's a
yeah.
full novel, and
See,
it's also out in Audible, and I love the reader. And if people
uh,
contact me on my website, I will give them a free code because I get a certain number, and it's good for everyone.
oh,
So
that's
yeah.
good to know because I was going to ask you later on what the best place to contact you is. So we know to contact you through your website. Is there like a contact page that they go to? And what is your website name?
Thanks. It's www and then it's ElizabethEveKing.com. So think Elizabeth the Queen. She's married to, well, the first woman. So there's a queen, there's Elizabeth, the first woman, Eve, and then she's married to the king. So Elizabeth Eve
Wow.
King.
Well, I'm going to have that right in front of us because I do edit the show and we'll put that there because I've checked out your site, as I said. It's absolutely amazing and you get to see the other projects that you do as well. But tell us, yeah, tell us about the third book now because we're talking about another one.
Thanks. Yes. And so the third book is coming out this year, and it's coming out, it's a series. It's probably going to be three, maybe, but it's two at the moment. And the second actually won like the best thriller opening prize. And
Wow.
it's called Electric Detective.
I
And
love
in it,
that name.
my, thank you. My hero, he gets struck by lightning and it supercharges the biophotons in his brain so that suddenly, well, he thinks he's seeing the future and the past, but really he's seeing different dimensions and where these dimensions lead. And so he's able to see all of these that other people aren't, and do it helps him solve crimes. And
Wow. Now that sounds like, because you're a biologist, so it sounds like this is where your writing is crossing over with this, that you get all these huge ideas. Is that true?
well, yes, definitely. Though I must say, this one I did is a lot more quantum physics, obviously, for the
Yeah.
people who aren't
Yeah.
quantum physicists.
Yeah.
but but I always have a lot of biology, and in my short stories too. Which, like I say, most of what I do is write short stories, and more, there's more biology. I'm science fiction, but fiction biology, I
Yeah.
guess, because
I think that all goes together, and you can really write from the inside out when you're aware of all of that, because it seems to me that you can make more sense of those types of stories because it makes it believable and really possible. So I
yeah,
find that intriguing. Now,
thanks.
now, can I ask you, have you considered, because I know you do, you've got the books and you seem to start off with a short story, then get to the book and do the audio, which is amazing. Have you ever considered films? It sounds like any of your stories would be amazing movies.
They would. I think they're totally cinematographic. And then some of my short stories, because the whole that I write a very, Twilight Zone, Dark Mirror. I write a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And it's
Wow.
yeah, I have had interest in one children's book, and then the first book there was some film talk, and I really just should get some partners and try and make it happen.
I would suggest that because what I'm hearing you say is very timely. You really have the audience for it now. And a suggestion might be you might start out with making short films. Just like you did the short stories, you could
Great.
start with the short film, or if you get the backing, certainly you could do a project because I think that there'd be a lot of interest for what you're doing. So
Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah, I think Electric Detective really
yeah,
has a crossover there.
yeah, and that's such a great name. I mean, get on that, girl.
I know. Well, any suggestions towards where to go with filmmaking, whatever.
Do you have an agent?
No, not now.
Yeah, yeah.
I have had various agents, and they've never really done very well for me.
Well,
You know,
as a suggestion, let me say this because these things do rush into my head. But what I would suggest is that you consider finding a producer, do your research, find a producer that you think your type like Electric Detective would be appropriate for, and send them a copy of your book. Do you know how many movies were made because they read a book, and they're more likely to accept that? Like if you send them a copy, that's a suggestion.
that's a great suggestion. I will follow it. I will look into that because
Because yeah, they will look at it and say, wow, look at this book she wrote, we know we can make a movie out of this. And if you send a script, they don't seem to like that. But if you send a copy of a book, you have, but do the research, because if you're sending a copy of that book, you want to make sure that they do the work, I mean, in the vein of what you're doing. And I think you'll find a lot of producers.
that's a really good idea because also, especially Electric Detective has a lot of, you know, Raymond Chandlery kind of dialogue
Yeah.
mixed in with this very noir quality that I think is
Oh, absolutely. Because I
right
have
on
heard
that.
in stories in the industry, I've heard so many producers say, "Well, I read the book and then we wanted to adapt it," because they're saying, "Wow, there's so many places they can go." So, oh my God, this is exciting. I think we just gave birth to an idea together. I love this.
I know. That would be really great because that one has so many. And then Blood Prism, when I saw Penny Dreadful, I don't know if you saw it, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that kind of, I was like, oh, wow, there's, this seems like a market there too.
yeah. So yeah, that's just expand the thinking and do that. That's amazing. Well, I want to veer off to the other side of this too, because there's another thing that you do. And when I open the show, we have seen all your beautiful paintings because I open the show with lovely music and paintings. Now, tell us, this is like a whole other career. And I wanted to ask you, as a writer with a full writing career, and your paintings are magnificent, by the way, they're beautiful. I love the vibrant colors, the
Thanks.
colors that you work with, and your night paintings just blow me away. I love that it's a night painting in the back, but then there's these beautiful colors in the front. I love that style, and I've showed some of them in the opening. Now, did you do this simultaneously while you were writing, or do you take different blocks of time to work on each craft?
Yeah, yes, it has worked because when I was young, I was into ballet and then I got into theater and improv. And then, how theater can be up and down. And so I started really painting seriously. And then I painted seriously yeah, I didn't start writing until about maybe 20 years ago, where I sort of switched to, and if I get a commission, of course I'll do it, and every now and then, or I teach still,
Yeah.
art. But yeah, pretty much it's almost like my brain is like, okay, you're either doing this or it's strange.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I've always, when I was younger, I loved artwork and I got to be quite good with portraits. But then the writing kind of, I said, I want to make a choice because I have to perfect one or the other. And I went with the writing, but I still have in me, I need a block of time to get my painting and the sketching and all that done too.
And I thought it would be really fun to do like a graphic novel,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
that's not really that's not the style I paint in. And so
yeah.
that always makes it a tougher sell, and it's like hard enough to sell anyway. And so it's so much I've had
Yeah.
ideas where it's like, could paint and write and da da da, but I
Wow.
never have.
That's
Man,
amazing. Which one do you do more of right now? The writing?
yeah, I pretty much just write and
Yeah.
don't paint
Well,
unless I get
that's
permission.
what do you have a schedule for your writing? Do you write because you're like Stephen King, it seems. The books just come out of you. So what is your when you're working on a novel or whatever, how many pages do you do a day? Do you have a routine? How does that process work for you?
Well, when I started, I guess I used to try and do 1,000 words a day. That's what you're supposed to start. But then when I'm rewriting something, I can't, because I mean, half the time you can spend a whole day on something and have fewer words than when you started, because you're adding, getting rid of it, da da da.
Yeah.
But Now I'm lazier. I have to admit, I'm a lot lazier. I
Mhm.
sometimes will I'll poke at something until I'm happy with it. And sometimes I will write all day. Sometimes I won't want to write at
Yeah.
all, or so. But I've been having uh, either some very short stories biting me in the leg, or a story bites me and it's like, oh, this is good, and so I just work till I have it. So it's
Yeah.
and the words go like this sometimes as I'm writing, because
Yeah.
I'll add in like a lot of actual research, and then I'll
Right.
cut it.
Yeah. Do you have a proofreader, or do you do your own proofreading?
Oh, well, I do my own proof most, but then I also send it to some people
Yeah.
occasionally. And
Yeah.
then if you're doing short stories and it's, like if there's a few flaws in it, no publisher is going to say, oh, you missed some commas. Whereas, it's not as arduous because it's just short story.
To contact you is through your website. And so I'm going to,
Or which will send me to my email, and people can email me
okay, what
directly
is your
too.
email?
Yep.
What is
It's
your email address?
It's
I'm going to put that.
EVIEKNG@gmail.com.
Okay.
So it's Edie
I,
King without the last I in King.
yeah, I love it. And that's why I like for people to say it. And then I have it written so that people can really have it ingrained, because a lot of people like to reach out. And I have just loved talking to you. This has been amazing.
This
I
is
feel like I've known you forever.
I know, I felt like that right away. And when you say my site is so amazing, I felt like, you've got so many things you do. And when I looked at them, I was just like, wow, this is incredible. So,
Oh, thank you. Well, I started later in life. Have any parting words of wisdom that you would like to say to women today
oh,
about what they'd like
yeah,
to do?
maybe I
About what
do.
they'd like to do? Or,
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, just don't believe, I think it's still in there, the science or math or this or that, or, don't get too fixated on physical appearance. It's all up in here too. You can
yeah.
do it all.
Yeah.
With so yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, Evie, I love this, and I have loved meeting you. Thank you so much. And it's sad to have to go when I've had such a wonderful guest, but we'll meet again. And I just love you. It's wonderful to talk to you. And let's keep in touch and watch each other on Facebook. And I'll let you know when the show is going to be up. So,
Thank you.
okay. And everyone have a wonderful day. Remember, support your immune system, because there's only one per customer. Okay. We'll see you again soon. Thank you, Evie. Have a
Thank you.
great day.
That was wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Bye.